Welcome into the F1 starting grid. You know, it's a great day to talk about racing. Why? Because we're just inching closer to the season start. Just love that. Just the anticipation. We got testing coming up real soon. Bahrain at the end of the month. It is going to be fantastic. Hi, welcome. I am your host, Brock Young. We got Mike Allen there, and we got the international man of mystery, Mr. Chaz Day. And I quote, in his humble and correct opinion, Mr. Chaz Day.
I'm in witness protection tonight. Calling in from an undisclosed location.
Well, we know where you are, but we're not going to say anything. Maybe. Before we start off, I just want to say we have a poll on Twitter right now at Form of Racing, if you want to check it out. We're going to be talking about this next week. Who will win their championship first, either Max or Charles? So go on our Twitter right now and go ahead and vote at Form of Racing. Also, we're at it. If you want to drop us a line, email us, theformofracing@gmail.com. We'd like to hear from you. Please be a part of the show. So with that, we'll go ahead right into our first topic. The former Renault, now Alpine, what do we expect from them? We got young Esteban Ocon and returning back to the group, Mr. Fernando Alonso. So, Chaz, what do you think the anticipation for Renault/Alpine will be for this season?
Yeah, honestly, it's a really interesting one. Alpine is, I don't know, they're in an interesting place. It was really weird watching what's happened even over the last couple of months, where they've let go of their team principal. That was all done under a cloud of more mystery than even I practice. And, nobody even knew, or basically he was out in January, but they just announced it like last week. So that part was kind of interesting / weird. You know how I am about management or leadership. And so if the leadership isn't very clear, I don't have really good feelings about the team. So yeah, they've got a lot of stuff going on. They lost money last year internally. Renault did this thing called the Renaulution, which was basically just them talking about what's the future of Renault, how are they going to approach the different car sectors that they have, the small car sector, commercial cars. They're moving into electric cars also. And they've specifically said that they're moving away from the metrics that they've used in the past, stuff like market share and sales, and they're moving into focusing on profits, cash, and investment effectiveness specifically. So from that standpoint, Renault wasn't profitable last year. They haven't been profitable since 2009. So basically, from 2010 to 2016, they weren't profitable. Then they were in profitability again, and now they weren't profitable again. So I think honestly, and the other part of that is Alpine didn't even mention the F1 team at all in their whole new strategy for the future. So I don't know. It doesn't feel like they're putting a lot of energy and attention into their F1 team when you combine the fact that they're not even talking about them with the fact that they have new management. The new management was ousted, or the old management was ousted without even an announcement. It just seems like there's a lot going on, and I have very little confidence in their ability to pull it together before the season starts in a couple weeks here.
Well, they finished fifth in the last two seasons, fourth before that.
You're right. Yeah, no, they've performed decently, but even so, I mean, we have someone new at the head, and they lost money, and they said out of their own mouth that they're looking at profitability. So yeah, I think they've had solid seasons, to your point, though.
Well, what do you expect them to finish? I mean, we're going to go over the Constructors Championship next week, but what do you expect them to finish? Like mid tier or lower mid tier?
Honestly, based on I actually expect them to have a worse season than they had last season. I would expect them to be somewhere. I expect them to struggle a lot, right? I think that their car will still be good. I mean, the changes haven't happened yet, so I expect their car to still be decent. But I think that they'll be probably in the bottom of the mid tier.
Mike, what do you think? What do you see at Alpine?
All right. I think they're going to take Williams' place in last place.
Wow.
Whoa, hot take.
Bold statement.
It's a team sport. And like you said, their priorities are to make a profit. So they're not going to put a lot of time and energy into something that's costing them money and not making the money. Their car was average at best last year. I mean, yeah, it finished fifth out of 12 teams, 13 teams?
10
teams. Yeah, they're in the mid. They were barely in the middle of the pack. So with the disruption, I don't think there's going to be a cohesion there. You know, what I've found out about F1, especially in racing in general, it's more than just the driver and the car. You can have a great driver and a great car, but if you don't have a good team behind it, that's going to be the factor. And I just think there's a whole lot of disruption. They ditched the colors, which is a big fan thing. I don't know how they're going to, recover the merchandise that they're going to lose, the merchandising, because when you go to France, they're all black and yellow. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's Renault. It's one of the things that I've talked about in other liveries too, where, these guys are ditching their historic colors. And I just don't think, I think you're right. Their heart's not really into it, and they're going to be dead last.
So to be clear, they were behind Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, and Ferrari, which there's no chance in hell they'll ever pass. And they were ahead of AlphaTauri, Aston Martin, what is now Aston Martin, Haas, Alfa Romeo, and Williams. So my prediction isn't nearly as bold as Mike's. I don't have the cojones for that, but I think AlphaTauri will definitely surpass them, and I think Aston Martin has a very good chance of passing them this season.
Well, I expect to bet on black, and when I say that, I'm going to bet on Haas finishing last.
I think it'll be between Haas and Alpine fighting to see who's the worst.
Mm-hmm. Well, I actually like that the call. It was a small callback to the red, blue, and white is both French and British colors, which both Renault and Alpine both represent. So it's just like a little red right there. I kind of liked it, but I see your point about the black and gold from Renault. But I'm like Chaz. I don't think they'll finish last, but I think towards the bottom of the mid-tier is where I expect Alpine to be.
Yeah, I think their livery is it's good looking, but I didn't think about it the way that Mike put it. That black and red is definitely distinctive in the seats with the fans, and even on track, it's very distinctive. That blue and red. I mean, there's who else has that? AlphaTauri has those colors, I think. Obviously, Red Bull has those colors.
Well, usually when you go to the French Grand Prix,
Williams,
you see nothing but yellow Renault shirts and yellow towels, yellow flags,
right?
Renault flags,
right?
Like when you go to Italy, it's nothing but Ferrari red.
Mm-hmm.
Germany, right. It's silver. So I don't know. Maybe it's not as important as I'm making it, but I just think that when you give up the colors of the team, that I don't know. It smells of desperation.
Well, they do now share a livery with Williams, so maybe that's a good luck charm.
Well, Williams went old school, man. They went back to the old blue and gold.
Oh, did they? I don't think I even saw that.
The blue.
I mean, they have some tiger stripe stuff going on, but they got the old. It looks like the old. It looks like the cars, back with Senna and Ross and those guys. It's the old Rothmans colors.
Maybe I'm missing something because the livery that I'm seeing, and I look up their livery, and I see like literally all different colors. I'm trying to find the official
dark
one.
blue, light blue tiger stripes on the cowling.
Yeah, but it's red. It's red, white, and blue though. I mean, with black.
Well, that's what Mike was talking about is Williams.
Williams.
The Williams car
I'm
looks.
talking about Williams. Williams went old school.
Yeah, Williams looked like a blue zebra.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Alpine doesn't look anything like the old Renault colors. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Again, I'm kind of I wouldn't say a purist, but yeah, I'm a grumpy old man. So any radical change that goes away from a historical norm, it just, they might have their reasons. I don't think that won't be the reason they'll be the worst. I think the other stuff I talked about, the teamwork, the management, the behind the scenes, the morale, that's what's going to suffer, I think.
Yeah. Well, before we move on to the next one, I just want to point out that even though he's probably really anxious to get back into the seat, it has to say something that Alonso is going with Alpine this season. That he may see something, and they may see something in him that may help him later on down the road. Maybe not this season, probably into next.
Yeah,
I feel that.
I mean, it's hard to say, man. I mean, on one hand, Alonso is he was definitely the last time we saw him drive for McLaren, he was definitely frustrated, which was nice to see. I mean, it was nice to see him frustrated because they weren't performing well, which means that he really wants to win. And I do like seeing that. On the other hand, though, I mean, do we know whether this isn't just a money grab? I mean, he's at the end of his career. He's still a great driver, but let's be honest. I mean, he's at the end of his career. So I don't know how much of an indication this is of like how promising Alpine is, and maybe it is. Like I think that's a good point to make, or a good observation to make at least. But I think I have to consider the fact that this guy is, very much at the end of his career. I mean, this will make him probably the second oldest person on the field behind Raikkonen.
Right.
So
when I think about Alonso, I think about Joe Montana in a Kansas City uniform, and Johnny Unitas in a San Diego Chargers uniform. I think he's taking the money. He's got a seat. He's taking the money. They got a real young driver next to him. Hopefully some of his greatness will rub off on the new driver. He'll mentor him or whatever for the future. I think that might be the thought process. But I think he's in the seat to drive to get a paycheck because he's not ready to quit yet. Nobody else will take him.
Well,
and for Alpine, he's a name. He's a brand, so you can sell that. You can sell Alonso jerseys and hats, and he'll sell. He's marketable.
He's making $18 million off one season. So I think that he's I wouldn't be out of the realm of conceivability to say, hey, this guy's I mean, where else is he going to grab $18 million doing anything in life other than hopping back into Formula One for one season?
That'll be $1 million per place. So P18, 18 million.
Yep.
That's
honestly,
funny. The other thing
I thought when he pulled up his boots and his gloves a couple years ago, I thought that was it.
Yeah.
I knew he wanted to go like into IndyCar and stuff like that, and still want to race, but I didn't think we'll see him back in Formula One, honestly.
Yeah, me either. I think the other thing I wanted to mention about Alpine and see what you guys thought about it is the fact that they're going with no team principal this year. So they're having the leadership duties split up between two guys, And I think it's interesting. I think it definitely, in my non-professional opinion, it definitely looks like indecision when I mean, obviously, like if a team doesn't pick somebody, it means that they're not confident enough in anybody that they have in their stable right now. And that doesn't look great. What do you guys think?
It's a mistake.
That's right to the point of what I was saying. They're going to be dead last, and there's not going to be stability in their leadership. And I mean, if you want to know how to mess up a bologna sandwich, have 5 people make it.
Yeah.
You can always count on you, Mike, for some wise wisdom there. But yeah, I think it's a mistake not going with the team principle. I mean, you got to have secure leadership. You need one person to go to, not two.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move on to what I call the quiet team of this season, not making too much noise, good or bad. Well, we'll see. And that's Alfa Romeo. I do have to admit, I did like their livery. I like their new car.
I love it. It feels like Sauber. I was always a fan of the Sauber liveries, but I'm a big fan of the Alfa Romeo liveries.
With
it's a good car.
But with Alpine and Haas, I mean, what do you expect from Alfa Romeo? I mean, with that Ferrari engine again. What do you think there, Mike?
And remind me who their drivers are again.
It's the same
Raikkonen and Giovinazzi.
Same drivers, yeah.
Well, Kimi Raikkonen's always been a strong driver. He's done well when he's been in good cars. So we'll see what they can do with the Ferrari engine and the body. If they can get a good car under Raikkonen, he'll be mid to upper in every race.
We'll get to a story here that, in a minute that focuses on that new power unit that Ferrari has for this season. But I remember I forgot what race it was last season that in the very first lap, Kimi Raikkonen just jumped up like was it like 13 positions in one lap. It was something crazy. He was passing everybody in that Alfa Romeo, and that was unheard of. It's just like Alonso. He could take excuse my language, he could take a crappy car and push it and make it at least somewhat decent. And he's been trying with that for the Alfa Romeo, but they were, second last, third to last season, barely finishing in points, just ahead of Haas.
Well, they were ninth overall, behind Williams. And then as far as points go, Raikkonen finished 16th, and then Giovinazzi finished 17th out of 20. So they were right near the bottom as far as like drivers go, and then they were only ahead of Williams last season as far as the constructors go.
But what do you expect from them this season, Chaz?
I don't expect much better. They spent their 2 development tokens on modifying the nose a little bit. So basically, 2 things. One, they are using effectively the same car from last season. By and large, it's the same car. The only thing that they did was modify the nose a little bit to make it a little bit more narrow, kind of like all the other teams did. But it's still the widest nose on the field. And they say that that's going to give them some extra downforce, but I think it's just wishful engineering, honestly. I don't know anything about engineering, but I know that if all the other teams are going with a more narrow nose and you were second to last season, you should probably at least try to follow some trends until you can figure out your own thing. Don't try to be creative up front. So I don't have a lot of confidence in them doing much better this year in that same Ferrari engine / gearbox combination.
Yeah. Honestly, I think reveal of their 2021 car was probably the highlight of their 2021 season.
Oh, that's funny.
They'll beat. Hey, the good news is they'll beat Alpine
They may beat Haas too. Who knows?
and Haas.
Um,
It's also Raikkonen's last season, right? So it's his last season. He's got nothing to lose. I don't think that he cares that much. Giovinazzi is trash. I mean, they're not going to get better. The interesting thing is we have teams fighting for like last place this season. There's some really bad teams on the field.
there is. There's really is. There's hope for your Williams there, Mike.
Yeah.
I just want to.
Yeah.
I just want to say this right quick. That there's a story that just came out that George Russell is a little wary of the Ferrari engine taking big steps, but he sets Williams' target as beating Haas and Alfa Romeo. Now, with this point here, I mean, he says that obviously you can't achieve it over the weekend, but it's just being realistic. I want to leave every weekend knowing that I did not make any stupid mistakes, continuing to improve as a driver and continuing to improve and help the team, but that the bare minimum target fighting and hitting of Alfa Romeo and Haas, which I think is a realistic target and figures cross hopefully fighting towards the mid-pack. Now also is stated that our friend and yours, the lovely team principal from Haas, says he cannot write off 2021 just yet because of the specifications. And I'm not going to read the story. I'm just probably get all mad again about Haas. But
That's your Russian team, buddy.
Yeah. Anyway, he states that you can't write off 2021 because of the new specifications to the Ferrari power unit. Chaz, your take on that, man?
They're not getting better. I mean, you and I were talking about Gunther a little bit earlier. After watching him in that F1 Netflix special, Drive to Survive, I really don't like the guy as a leader. Really don't like his attitude and what he brings to the team. As far as not writing off this season, I mean, what is he actually saying, right? Because it's like, it would be like me going, like, you know what? I got beat when I was playing an NBA player one-on-one, but this time I'm actually going to try. What difference does it make whether I try my best or not? Like, what difference does it make whether he writes the season off or not? They're still going to be terrible. So I really don't care about this story, and I really don't care about him, quite honestly.
Well, you can say it better than me. But, I think he's trying to walk back some of his comments earlier, like a couple months ago.
Yeah, probably trying to not get fired.
Well, good luck with that. But
right.
With George Russell saying that he's a little worried the Ferrari engine taking big steps, you would still say that that Williams will probably beat Alfa Romeo and Haas, and from what I understand, Alpine as well. Correct?
Yeah, I think Williams. I think Williams is going to be in the middle, squarely in the middle of the pack. George Russell is going to be able to use his skills in a car that's closer to his ability. I mean, but let's say what it is. George Russell's waiting around for Hamilton to retire. So, I mean, his loyalty to Williams is because they're giving him a seat to hone his skills to go jump in a silver bullet. So, I'm glad they're going to get a better engine behind him. I'm glad they're going to have a better platform and a better car for him to drive, and I think he's going to see a lot of success with it. But as far as his comments and stuff like that, he's waiting around to go to Mercedes.
I agree. I think he's just trying to bide his time and bite his tongue, basically.
Yeah. He's a 20-year-old kid. He gets paid millions of dollars to shoot around a track at almost 300 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I don't know how much weight we can put on his comments about the stuff that happens outside the cockpit. I know he's a great driver, and he'll win championships, and he's young, but he's waiting for the seat. He's waiting to go to Mercedes. He would have won last year in a Mercedes car, and I haven't seen that. I missed that race, and I read about it later, and I'm waiting for the series, which drops this weekend, season 3 of Drive to Survive, because I might skip ahead to that race just to find out what happened, because he was ahead, he was leading, and something happened and ended up in P5 or P6. Taking Hamilton's place when Hamilton had the Ronas.
Yeah. I got a feeling we all going to have the same answer for this one here. And I'm going to go start with you, Mike. Worst, we did best driver pairings last week. What is your worst for this season?
And again, I'm not sitting in front of my resources, but the two kids, the two rookies, the one whose dad financed and the other, is that the Haas team?
That's the Haas team.
Yeah, that's not them. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna amend some earlier statements I made in the show. Alpine will not be the worst; they'll be the second to worst.
Okay, there you go, making history again. But I agree. I mean, you can't. I mean, God love Mitch Schumacher and what he did in Formula 2 and Formula 3 and all that. And he has some great pedigree, and he's going to have a great F1 career. But he is teamed with, I'm trying to hold my tongue here, but not a great guy. But even though Haas, the team Haas itself is standing behind him, but I think that's going to be the worst driving pairing this season.
Well, Haas is standing behind him because Daddy gave him all the money to operate.
Mm-hmm.
So you give me that kind of money to operate, I'm going to stand behind you too.
God love Mother Russia. How about you, Chaz? What do you see?
Yeah, so I was trying to take a little bit of a different take on things, and because I mean that's the most obvious answer, just because it's the obvious answer, right? Like, because they're absolutely awful,
Mm-hmm.
and they will be really awful this season. I think what may be a little bit of a different take is just looking at it from an investment standpoint. So, like, for example, Fernando Alonso is going to get, he's actually going to get 20 million this year, and I actually think that's well deserved. What I don't think is going to pan out as well is someone who's right behind him. So Verstappen's going to get 19. These are the top 4 right now. So we have Lewis is getting 55, so he's clearing way more than everyone else. Alonso's coming back for 20. So he's actually making more than Verstappen, who's making 19. At number 4 is Vettel. So Vettel's making $17 million. So in my opinion, Vettel in an Aston Martin, paying him $17 million along with another 1.7 to go into Lance Stroll. So now we're looking at almost $19 million for an Aston Martin that's going to be somewhere in the middle of the pack. It doesn't seem like a very good return on investment.
So you're looking at Aston Martin, the worst driving pairing right now?
I think so. Yeah, I think Aston Martin is going to wind up being one of those teams that when we're watching races this season, you're not going to hear about. You're just going to have to look up the stats and be like, oh, this is what was happening, because they talk about interesting stuff. They talk about what's going on at the front of the pack. They talk about who are the back markers, and then they talk about any in race kind of events going on or races within the race, so to speak, right? I don't think there's going to be very many of those with Vettel and with Lance Stroll this season. So I think ultimately it's just going to be a waste of $19 million. I mean, what are you getting out of it? The team's not going to get any better. It's not going to be great advertisement for the team. I mean, Vettel was largely overlooked last season, and he was in a Ferrari. So yeah. I think he's being overpaid.
Now, this is a fun one I like to get into. What tracks would you like to see back into F1? Chaz, let's start with you.
Oh, love this question. So I'm not going to tell you where I'm currently at, but I currently live in a place called Austin, Texas. But I was born and grew up in a place called Rochester, New York, in upstate New York. And up there is a track you might know called Watkins frickin' Glen. And so I'd love to see it because it's my hometown state. I'd love to see it because it's another track in the United States. We desperately need at least a second track. We could probably do more. I've heard things about Miami and Las Vegas like everybody else, but we at least need another track. So I'd love it for another US track. And then obviously just for the nostalgia, right? Like, it's been almost 40 years since Watkins Glen's held an F1 race. So that'd be really great.
I think Mike is going to be on the same page.
I got a little excited there. Knocked my glasses off. That Watkins Glen is the crown jewel. And I don't know why F1 left. Well, I do know why F1 left. But I think with the improvements to the track, especially in today's technology, plus building the infrastructure to handle the fans, Watkins Glen, I would love to see that track back in the circuit. Absolutely love it.
I'm actually going overseas in a track that is pretty much just hasn't been out that long, but I still love it, and that's the Malaysian Grand Prix at Sebring.
Great track, really great track.
I love to see those two straightaways right next to each other, and some great turns, great chicanes, great overtaking if possible. It's just something. There was actually rumored that they may bring it back for 2021, but unfortunately not for this calendar year. Maybe
That would be a great track. I agree.
Maybe 2022 they'll come bring it back, but that's one track I would love to see back in the Formula One calendar. By the way, a short question: do you think right now we are 23 races this season? Is that too much or too little for the F1 calendar?
Not enough.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the rhythm has been pretty good. You have a race basically the way that it's been working out in the last few seasons. It's been you have a race every other week for a little bit, then you have that break in the summer, then you come back and you have like maybe 2 or 3 races in a row, and then you go back to kind of like every other week. I like that rhythm. I think there are some weeks where you get like 2 or even 3 weeks off. So I like, adding a couple more races just to kind of close the gap, because I love that rhythm of just being excited for another race coming, every other week. That's great to me. So I think any more than that might be a little bit much, quite honestly. I mean, obviously we don't want to get into the realms of like some of the other sports that have, tons of games. But yeah, I mean, I think even like the NFL, like, each team doesn't have a ton of games, but there's so many teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
That there still are a lot of games. So I think that, if we can get more races, I don't think that it's a bad thing, because it just gives us more as race fans to be excited about. So if we can keep as close as we can keep to that every other week rhythm, I love that.
One thing
I agree.
One thing I liked about last year, even through the terrible pandemic, yes, they had a late start, but we had racing throughout August, which I missed. I understand they do a break, which is good and understandable, but I just like, hey, we have racing in August now. Yes. That's one thing I liked about it. So, but anyway, join us next week where we're going to break down the start of the season, plus break down our winners for the Constructors Championship. So make sure you stay tuned to that. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter at Form of Racing, and please stay informed with us. Be part of the conversation with us. theformofracing@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. In the meantime, we'll see you next week right here on the Form of Racing.
See you guys. Hopefully I'm out of witness protection by then.
Hope so.